He heard crying in the snow, but it wasn't a turtle. The snow had fallen thicker than usual that winter, blanketing the forest outside Wyatt's cabin like a silent spell. Each flake seemed to hush the world further, drowning out the wind, the rustling branches, even the occasional animal that dared to stir. Wyatt liked it this way. Solitude was his comfort now, after what happened last year. He didn't expect to hear anything that night. It was nearly midnight when it began. A faint sound, soft, barely a whisper, cut through the hush of the snow. Wyatt paused, mug of lukewarm tea halfway to his lips. He turned his head, ears straining. The sound was distant, muffled by the walls and the storm. But unmistakably, it was crying. At first, he told himself it was the wind. Maybe a fox. Maybe the storm playing tricks again. But as he moved to the frosted window and cracked it open, the sound became clearer. It was the wail of something small, lost and utterly alone. The forest behind his cabin was a maze of twisted trees and uneven terrain, and the snow had erased all sense of trail. But something compelled Wyatt to go out. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the loneliness. Maybe it was just curiosity. He pulled on his thick coat, laced his boots, and took the flashlight from the shelf. Crunch, crunch, crunch. His boots pressed deep into the snow as he moved toward the sound. The flashlight's beam wavered with each step, sweeping over tree trunks coated in ice, over branches heavy with frost, over the soft indentations of animal tracks. Then he stopped. There, barely visible at the edge of the path, was a tiny green shell half buried in the snow. A turtle? Wyatt knelt, brushing the snow away gently. The shell was cracked, but empty. No creature inside, just the cold impression of something long gone. And yet, the crying continued. Only now it was closer, louder, sharper. Wyatt's breath caught in his throat as the beam of his flashlight trembled. The sound wasn't coming from the shell. It was coming from the trees ahead. High-pitched, rhythmic, and human-like. But it wasn't a child. It wasn't a turtle. And something deep in his bones whispered, it wasn't meant to be found. Wyatt stood frozen, breath clouding the air like smoke. The cracked shell in the snow gleamed wet under his flashlight, and the crying had turned jagged, like something mimicking grief without understanding what it meant. It wasn't natural. It wasn't right. Still, he moved forward. He told himself he couldn't leave something helpless out in the cold. But the truth was darker than that. There was a tug in his chest, like invisible fingers coiling around his ribs, pulling him deeper into the forest. His flashlight flickered once, then again. Still, the sound guided him, higher pitched now, as if beckoning him. The trees closed in, their limbs twisted and gnarled, as though recoiling for whatever lurked beneath them. Wyatt passed a hollow stump, blackened by time and fire, and the sound shifted again. Louder, right beside him. He turned the light fast. Nothing, just snow and silence, until something moved at the edge of his vision. A shape, small and hunched, darting behind a thicket. "Hey," Wyatt called, instantly regretting the way his voice cracked in the cold. "You okay out here?" No reply, just the wind brushing the branches like skeletal fingers. Then, a laugh, a dry, high giggle that didn't sound like a child's or anything that should have been laughing at all. Wyatt stumbled back, boots slipping on the icy path. He caught himself on a branch, fingers numb, heart hammering. That sound wasn't natural. He turned, meaning to go back, to run, but the snow behind him was smooth, untouched. His footprints were gone. No trail, no path, just endless white and trees that suddenly all looked the same. The laughing stopped. Wyatt swung the flashlight wildly, breath shallow. Then he saw it, half hidden in the snow. Another shell. But this one was twisted, almost melted, looking like it had been held too close to fire. And beside it, a trail of tiny prints. Not paw prints, not boots, bare feet. He knelt to look closer, and when he stood back up, a voice whispered inches from his ear. "You found me." He spun around, nothing, just the cold and that awful silence. But now, the forest wasn't behind him anymore. Somehow it was everywhere. Wyatt's flashlight sputtered as he turned in slow, panicked circles. The woods pressed in from all sides, identical in every direction, bark like scarred flesh, snow like crushed bone. The whisper still echoed in his head, brittle and hollow. "You found me." He gritted his teeth. "Hello," he called out, the words small and pathetic in the swallowing snow. "Who's there?" No response, just the wind and the crunch of footsteps. Not his. From the dark came a childlike figure, crouched low, crawling awkwardly on all fours like it didn't quite remember how to use its limbs. Wyatt aimed a flashlight, and for a moment he saw a face. A face that looked just like his niece. But it couldn't be. Ava had died last year, gone beneath the ice at the lake. No body recovered. Still, her wide, tear-filled eyes stared back at him now, lips trembling, pale fingers curled against the snow. "Uncle Wyatt," she whispered. He staggered backward, flashlight shaking. "You're not real. This isn't real." The figure blinked, and suddenly, the expression changed, vacant, too calm. It tilted its head, then its neck cracked sideways like a puppet yanked the wrong direction. "You're cold," it said in a voice not quite hers. "I was cold, too." Wyatt turned and ran. The trees didn't let him far. They shifted subtly, cruelly, trapping him in a loop. Every path bent back to the stump. Every shadow felt like it followed. His breath wheezed as panic bloomed. The forest wasn't letting him go. It was playing with him. And then, in a clearing, he saw it. A circle of shells. Dozens of them. Cracked, blackened, hollowed out. Inside one, he saw movement. He crept forward, slowly. Against every instinct. A small, damp hand reached out from the broken shell. Not reptilian. Human. The fingers were wrong. Too long. The nails too sharp. The skin too gray. And from within it came the same sound that had led him here in the first place. Crying. Desperate. Hungry. He stumbled back again, and this time, when he looked up, there were 3 of them. Figures just like the first. Children with his niece's face. All watching. All smiling. And all whispering in perfect unison. "You found us." Wyatt backed away, heart slamming against his ribs, breath catching in shallow gasps. The snow no longer crunched. It sank soft and wet, like it was swallowing him step by step. The figures didn't chase him. They just stood there, watching, whispering, "You found us. You found us." They didn't blink, didn't breathe. They looked like Ava, but they weren't her. Wyatt's mind clawed through memories. The night Ava vanished. The lake had frozen earlier than usual. They told him she fell through a weak patch of ice. But he remembered something strange. He remembered the sound. The same crying he'd heard tonight. He ran again, pushing through branches that clawed at his coat like hands. His flashlight finally died, plunging him into a dim grayness lit only by the reflection of moonlight off the snow. He didn't stop until he collapsed in a shallow ravine, lungs burning. And there, beneath a pine bent low with ice, he saw another child. This one was smaller, shivering, curled up in the snow with her back turned. Hey, are you hurt?" he asked, his voice raw. No answer. He approached slowly, reaching out. "It's okay. I'll help you." The figure turned. It had no face, just a stretched patch of skin where features should have been, like it had been molded but never finished. And where its mouth should have been, it opened anyway. The scream that poured out was impossible. It wasn't sound. It was memory. It was his sister crying when Ava disappeared. It was the cracking of ice under desperate feet. It was the last phone call before everything went wrong. Wyatt fell to his knees, clutching his ears. But the forest didn't care. Shapes began to move in the trees again, some small, some dragging themselves forward, leaving trails in the snow. All of them with faces like people he knew. People who were missing, forgotten. The circle of cracked shells, he now realized, wasn't a graveyard. It was a nest, a place where something pretended to be the lost. Something that lured searchers with grief and left nothing behind but a broken shell. A whisper returned to his ear, this time so close it brushed his skin. "You'll make a lovely shell."
Wyatt couldn't move. The whisper slithered down his spine, colder than the snow beneath him, tighter than the air around him. He turned his head slowly, expecting to see one of the faceless things crouched beside him. But there was nothing, just snow. Endless, suffocating snow. Except now it moved, rising and falling in slow waves, as if the ground itself was breathing. The cracked shells, scattered around him in grotesque silence, began to tremble. From within them came sounds, gasps, sobs, laughter. Some too sharp, some too hollow. All wrong. Wyatt scrambled backward. "I'm not like them," he muttered, teeth chattering. "I'm not one of them." But the forest disagreed. "You are now," came a voice. Not whispered this time. Spoken, clear and calm, like someone stating a fact. Behind him, the faceless child now had a face. His face. Identical in every feature, except for the eyes. Its eyes were hollow black pits, deep enough to fall into. It smiled. "You cried in the snow," it said. "You followed the voice." From the trees came more figures. One looked like his mother. One like his childhood friend who drowned in a creek. Another wore the heavy park ranger uniform of the man who'd vanished 2 winters ago. All of them with that same grin. "You missed her," they said in unison. "That's how the forest finds you. It listens for the soft ones. The grieving ones." Wyatt's breath came faster, shallower. "No," he whispered. "Yes," said the forest. The ground beneath him cracked. Not a shell. A vast one, hidden beneath the snow, hollow and waiting. His knees buckled as he fell through, down into a dark chamber pulsing like a womb. Inside, rows of shells lined the walls. Some open. Some still sealed. Inside one of them, he saw Ava. Not smiling. Not crying. Just watching. Waiting. "You'll stay now," the voice said. "You'll keep them company." The shell began to close. Snow drifted in above like a slow curtain. And outside, in the woods, a new sound echoed. Crying. So lonely. Calling out to the next soul foolish enough to follow it. And above the snow, nestled in white, a small green shell waited, cracked, empty, and ready.